No matter how dark things seem to be, or how desperate it seems, there is something you should know. Let the love of God still flows. God answers prayer. You need to know He's always there. When you stand in faith and pray, believing, trust in God and you start receiving, to know how much He cares. God answers, oh God answers prayer.
Jeremiah 33:3 says, "Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and I will show thee great and mighty things thou knowest not."
Join us now to hear great and mighty things that have happened in the lives of people who have been changed through our Lord Jesus as they share their testimonies of how God answers prayer.
Welcome to God Answers Prayer. I'm Linda Cobb, your host today, and today we have a very special program for you. And I want to go to a scripture that's found in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 23, and it says, "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for He who promised is faithful." Today on God Answers Prayer, we have Roberta Cheek, Executive Director of CareNet of Santa Fe, Espanola, and Kathy Krekel, CareNet Outreach Coordinator, and they're going to be sharing their testimonies and how they got involved with CareNet Pregnancy Center. They're going to tell us what they do for people who come to them for help. Roberta has been with CareNet of Santa Fe for 13 years, and her involvement has been to assist women who were considering abortion and to provide them with accurate information about all their options. We'll be back right after this.
Hey Sun Broadcasting, I'm Ben Corson of Hope Generation, and you guys have been broadcasting for over 44 years programs just like mine in order to spread the good news of the God of hope to the world. We are so thankful for your prayers, and we're so grateful for your financial support to continue to advance the forward march and progress of the kingdom of God into our generation. We love you, Sun Broadcasting, and the best is in front of us.
Well, welcome to God Answers Prayer, and today our guests are Roberta Cheek, the Executive Director of CareNet of Santa Fe and Albuquerque, as well as Kathy Krekel, the Outreach Coordinator of CareNet of Santa Fe and Espanola. It's good to have you, ladies. It's good to have you here. Let's just kind of let people know about CareNet, how it was formed, and also how each one of you got involved. So start with you, Roberta.
Great. Well, thanks for having me, Linda. It's wonderful to be here again. CareNet of Santa Fe, Espanola, we actually opened in Santa Fe in 2009, in January of 2009. Now, it had a long time coming in that it was actually became a CareNet affiliate in 2006. And it took from 2006 to 2009 to get it off the ground, get a building, get all the legal things done. And so it took a little bit of time. And then we opened Espanola office in 2017. Unfortunately, last year, due to COVID, we closed the physical office there, but we continue to keep our business license and serve Espanola. And so that's how that. Now, CareNet Santa Fe Espanola is one of about 1,200 affiliates of CareNet National, which is one of two big pro-life organizations. You have CareNet and you have Heartbeat, and we're a CareNet affiliate. And so that's how CareNet Santa Fe got started.
So what happened that made you want to be a part of this? What was the impetus there?
Well, God.
Of course.
Because
Thank you.
truth be told, I never wanted to be involved in pregnancy movement. Prior to me coming on I actually trained in 2008. Prior to that time, I had met 4 other individuals who were in that 2006 to 2009 who were trying to get it off the ground, and every single time they were going to open one, I would meet these people. I met them at my children's soccer team, at BVS, I mean, everywhere I went, these people would hunt me down and say, oh, I'm starting this pregnancy center. I think you'd be great to get involved. And I'd be like, yeah, no. Because truth be told, Linda, I really wasn't that pro-life. Number one. And number two, I was very judgmental and kept thinking, how could people be so stupid to get pregnant in this day and time? So this was my very humble beginning. And finally, one of my friends who was starting it, Lisa Scrafford, invited me to come, and I was stepping down from direct sales and kind of opening the door for God to do something great in my life. And she said, why don't you just work with me for a little while to get it off the ground? And I said, okay, but I don't want to meet with clients. I'll help organize it. Which is crazy because I'm not an organized person. I'll help organize it and I'll be your prayer person, but I don't want to meet with clients. Again, I still had this thing in the back of my mind, yeah, not into this thing. And 3 months later, she was leaving and they were looking for an executive director. And I said, okay, let me know when you leave and I'll leave too. And God had other plans. So that's how I came on board.
Now, you made the statement you weren't really that pro-life.
No.
Why?
Well, I was very ambivalent about it, like I think a lot of people are and a lot of Christians are. I felt that if there was some good reasons why people needed this, it was better to do it legally. I did not realize then that 1 out of 3 women on just about any setting has had an abortion. I never realized that organizations that were promoting it as a good thing, that was because that was their primary source of income. And I never realized that 98% of all abortions are on healthy mommy and healthy babies. I mean, I truly believe that it was because people needed it for rape or incest or anomalies in the pregnancy. And so, to boot, I had been involved in a church in California that actually taught that it was not alive until it took its first breath. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if it's not really alive, then what is the big deal? And that's kind of where I came from. So, and I also thought that the pro-life movement, which we'll talk a little bit about later, they were just such fanatics, and they weren't concerned about the mother. They were always concerned about the baby.
Right.
And so one of the things when I came on to CareNet is, and I was asked to be the executive director, here's the long story of that, is that I was driving to Albuquerque to meet with a girlfriend of mine from Santa Fe, which is about 60 minutes. And on the way here, I'm not kidding you, Linda, in an audible voice, God said, you need to do that. And I said, you gotta be kidding, I'm not even into it. And I arrive at my girlfriend's house and I tell her what I'm thinking that God told me. And she says, well, you've been wanting to do something, why don't you just try it for a while? Then 3 minutes later, Lisa calls me and says, we've been interviewing people and we can't find anybody, and we truly believe that God wants you to do this.
Out of the mouths of 2 or more
Yes.
witnesses.
So when I came on, I said, I will do this in 2 ways. One is that we focus on the mother, because I believed that if we focused on the mother, she would take care of the baby. But if you focus on the baby, then the mother feels like she's being neglected.
Right.
And number 2, that we would be focused on information about fetal development, information about what an abortion procedure looks like, information about adoption options. And I don't know that I initially was pro-life so much as I was very pro-information. Is truly, I felt choice without information was no choice at all.
Yeah, and I mean, actually pro-life is such a bigger subject. I mean,
That's right.
Pro-life applies to the mother.
Absolutely.
She's got to have a life, and she's got to have a good life, you know, and the baby, and the father, and the family, the
That's
community.
right.
I mean, everybody's involved in it.
That's
So,
right.
yeah. So you, So was CareNet the national part of it? I mean, was that not their protocol? Or was this a kind of a new focus?
Truth be told, I didn't know. I jumped into this. We had a little 500 square foot building with one office, which was my office, a receptionist, and a little tiny meeting room. And I had no idea what I was doing, what my job description. I didn't know about CareNet National. I really knew nothing. As a matter of fact, about 2 months into my new job as the executive director, my sister came to visit me and said, "What do you do here?" And I said, "I don't really know." And I didn't know that it was going to take off. I mean, I really thought this was a short-term thing almost 13 years later, and 230 babies saved, by the way.
Hallelujah.
I didn't know what it was. It was just a day-by-day thing. And so I don't know what CareNet's, now I know CareNet National, that is their protocol.
Yeah.
Is save the mother, save the baby.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that
God
then.
knew.
God knew, that's right.
So he
And he
must
knew my heart. By the way,
Yeah.
I'm now one of those pro-life fanatics that I didn't like back then.
with a big heart.
Yes, thank you.
So Kathy, how about you? How did you get involved, and how did you get involved in the pro-life movement?
Well, it was a God thing, of course. I had an abortion in 1980, and at that time, I don't remember there being any place that you could go to be supported. I was all alone, and I knew it was the wrong thing to do, but I felt it was the only thing that I could do. I felt trapped. I was a single mother, and I already had a 4-year-old son who I was wildly in love with and devoted to. But so I, in my mind, said, I can't have this baby. I have to focus on my son. Well, fast forward to 2007. For that whole period of time, I kept totally silent. I didn't tell anybody. I was ashamed. Nobody other than the father of the baby knew. And I honestly thought I had put the nail in the coffin between God and me. And a neighbor invited me to go to a Bible study fellowship, and the leader of that, and there were about 250 women there, the leader of that was very open about the fact that she had had an abortion, and that she believed that, if you confess your sins, God will forgive you, and that Jesus died to wash us clean so we could stand before the Father. So it was a totally new thought to me, and I got together with her privately, and I just relished the fact that she was talking about it, that she set me free to talk about it. So I moved down to Santa Fe, and I knew that God wanted me to do something with my life, and so I asked around and found out that there was a pregnancy center in town, and I said, I want to go there, and I want to help post-abortion women, ones who are struggling with the fact that they had an abortion. I want to help them. I want to set them free.
That's
too.
awesome. Yeah.
So I tracked down Roberta, and I've been there for 8 years now. And it's not a job, it's my mission.
Yeah.
So I do the outreach, I do all the graphic stuff and the events and social media marketing, but I also head up our post-abortive recovery team.
Great. So, I mean, that's one of the things when I know that I'm sure at Planned Parenthood they don't really address all the implications emotionally, physically, spiritually, that occur when a woman has an abortion. So you went through all of that. I mean,
did.
And like you said, you were ashamed, but it was more than just being ashamed. It's all the other stuff that the enemy's throwing at you, that it really snuffs out the life in you, in a sense.
It does, and I had nightmares, which they were sort of, if anybody's read the book or seen the movie, Sophie's Choice, where she has to make a choice between which child will live and which child will die.
Yeah.
And I had nightmares about that for years, and I couldn't go into a baby store, you know. I couldn't. It was hard for me to be around pregnant women, and if anything came up about abortion, I'd leave the room. It was just an awful way to live, and I started drinking more, and it was just not a good time in my life. And it's something that I know I'm forgiven for, but I regret to this day.
Of course. But you know that you're free now.
Right. That's
So.
right.
You know, in walking through all of this, I mean, where was your relationship with the Lord?
Well, I had been raised Catholic. I knew that abortion was a sin, a mortal sin, you know, and that's why I said I thought I had put the nail in the coffin between God and I. But I was still seeking. I was totally out of the church at that time, but reading a lot about it. But I hadn't read the Bible. And so going to this Bible study fellowship, BSF, started reading the Bible and found it to be such an incredible message from God, and it just fell in love with it. And it was only in 2009 that I became a Christian and gave my life to God. And I'm very happy, that I did. Right. Life hasn't been perfect, but I can't imagine doing it without God and without Jesus.
And so you truly, I mean, because of that relationship, when we get into the word, when we finally just say, yes, I need you.
Right.
That it changes everything for us. I mean, that relationship that he wants to have with us is so precious. And then he begins to pour into us his life.
Right.
And how much he loves life.
That's right.
And we become pro-life.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I think I was pretty much always pro-life. It was just I felt I was trapped.
Yeah.
And a lot of times a woman is, when she finds out she's unexpectedly pregnant, she does feel trapped, and it's like you have to gnaw your leg off. You're in a trap, that kind of a intense crisis situation. And so being at CareNet and knowing that we educate women on what all their options are, we meet them where they are in their time of crisis, diffuse the situation for them, walk beside them the whole way. And as Roberta said, it's about the woman. It's not so much about the baby. When we get women into our center, 80% of them who come in thinking they need an abortion choose life instead.
I mean, knowing that you've got some support system is so important.
Yes.
And I know we need to go for a message, but I just want to encourage those of you that are watching, and if you're hearing this, and like they just said, 1 out of every 3 women, and it's in the church, it's everywhere, and there is no condemnation that's going to be coming from here for sure. Some of you may have been in places where there was, but the Lord does not condemn you. If you will come and repent and just say, Father, forgive me, He is ready and willing to forgive you because He gave you life and He wants you to live it and to have it more abundantly. So we've got a prayer line, and you can give us a call at 505-345-4165, and that's Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you call after hours, then please leave a message with your name and phone number, and somebody will get back to you. But just know that you're not alone. You don't have to go through these things by yourself. That's the enemy trying to separate you and just to destroy your life. So don't let him do it. Say no and give us a call. We'll be right back after this.
Are you feeling lost and alone? Maybe you're feeling closed off from the world right now. Do you live with little hope? Our prayer partners are here with a word of encouragement and to lift you and your needs up before the Lord. Please reach out today by calling 505-345-4165. We care about you. Call 505-345-4165.
Well, we're back with Roberta Cheek and Kathy Krekel from CareNet of Santa Fe and Espanola. And Roberta, you were just talking about the questions that you will ask somebody when they come in. Maybe you can share that with our audience.
When women come in and they're feeling like they're in crisis, what our goal is to get to know their story, help them kind of diffuse the situation so that they can see it clearer. And usually just from the start, once they can see that there's light at the end of the tunnel and they get the resources and the help that they need, just that quickly they'll realize that this is not what they need to do. The question that we do ask women who have had an abortion, like Kathy was talking about earlier, is out of hundreds of women who have had an abortion, I ask this question. Did anybody tell you about fetal development? Did anyone tell you what you were saying yes or no to when it came to the abortion procedure? Did anyone offer an adoption option to you? And did you see a doctor prior to making the abortion decision? Because one of the things that's talked about right now, we certainly dealt with that this year in legislature, was that it's between a woman and her doctor. The reality is that most women do not see a doctor prior to making this decision. Mm-hmm. They make the decision spontaneously based on the moment of crisis or the shock of finding out that they're pregnant and they had not planned that. So they don't see a doctor before. Literally, of the hundreds of women that I have asked those questions to, across the board, the answer is no. And so when we talk about an informed decision, when you talk about pro-choice, is there really a choice involved if they don't know all of their options? That is a misnomer to say that it's really about pro-choice. The scary thing that's happening right now in our society is that it's no longer about pro-choice. It really is about pro-abortion. And this spirit of death that has come over our country that not only is concerned about women's health and safety and, they put that on there, but it really is promoting the idea of more abortions. And that is what they never talk about, is the damage that it does to women. Women are really hurt in the abortion process, as you both talked about earlier, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally. That affects women in such a deep level because once you're pregnant, you are never the same. I don't care what the result is. If you've had a miscarriage, if you've carried to term, if you've made an adoption plan, if you have an abortion, it does not matter what the end result of a pregnancy is, you are never the same.
Right.
And so to say that you can just reset the button and just act like nothing happened, that's not the truth.
Yeah. You know, and unfortunately, places like Planned Parenthood and these other places, they're never going to hear any of this.
That's right.
Because it's a money-making machine.
That's right.
And there again, that's a whole nother big rabbit trail of the abuse that is taking place. I mean, CareNet is a 501c3, right?
That's right.
So is Planned Parenthood. CareNet cannot endorse political candidates. They cannot get involved in giving money. But Planned Parenthood does that all the time.
That's right.
And I'm just saying it because people need to know this. You know, if you think it's a great organization, think again. Because women will go again and again and again if they don't become informed.
Right.
That's right.
That's right. The Planned Parenthood's goal is that every woman would have, by the time she's 35, 3 abortions.
Wow.
And that's where they make their money.
It was all started with Margaret Sanger, and
Right.
she was a eugenicist, which was all about population control. And you know, so there's such an evil underlying basis
Yes.
behind all of it.
It really is. And this thing about, you know, it's health care, that Planned Parenthood is a health care facility. It's so ridiculous. As Roberta was saying, women don't go to a doctor when they're pregnant. Women have gotten pregnant for thousands of years without doctors involved. You're not sick, you're pregnant.
Right. So we're going to go ahead and look at this video that you have brought with you, and then we'll talk about it. So let's watch this.
If you're pro-life, you've probably been accused of only caring about children before they're born. In other words, you care about fetuses in the womb, but once the child is born, you don't. As pro-life people, when we hear this common accusation, our gut instinct is to try to prove that it's not true. We get out our laundry list of things that we do to demonstrate our concern for children after they're born. For example, we volunteered for so-and-so charity. We donated to so-and-so cause. We adopted a child. We took in children from foster care. The list goes on. All easily verifiable acts of kindness that pro-life people do with regularity. But what's the typical response we hear from the pro-choice culture that makes this accusation? Well, even though you've adopted a number of children, it's not enough. There are millions of disadvantaged children in the world. Or, even though you've given tens of thousands to charity, we need billions of dollars to solve the problems that children and families face. In other words, no matter what we do or say, it's never going to be enough to shake the unfair and untrue criticism that pro-life people only care about children when they're in the womb. It's just a red herring that the pro-choice movement uses to distract from the real issue of thinking about what abortion actually does to a living human being in the womb. So, given our conundrum, I suggest a new strategy. Our strategy going forward should be to demonstrate that the act of saving a life is a good and righteous act in and of itself, regardless of whether or not we commit to the long-term care of the life that we saved. In other words, the pro-choice movement is trying to tell us that if we do not commit to the long-term care of babies after they're born, then saving their lives is not a good thing. Indeed, they are saying that the Good Samaritan was not actually good because he did not agree to care for the man on the side of the road forever. Let's look at some of the other examples that demonstrate this important principle. Let's say that you're a firefighter and you're called to a terrible fire at a house. You're standing outside the house with an axe, ready to go in and save a child who is trapped inside the house. But someone stops you. They look you in your eye and say, "Firefighter, I know you're about to go into a burning house to save that child, but here's the thing. Both of her parents have already been killed by the fire, and the house is going to be lost too. So this child will have no parents and no home. So I need you to pledge to care for this child's every need after you save her. If you're unwilling or unable to care for this child after you save her, then it's not a good or heroic act to save her." Now, any good firefighter would of course ignore this person and immediately run into the burning house to save the child's life. Why? Because saving a child's life in and of itself is a good thing. And we have determined that the value of our good deeds is not contingent on anything we promise or pledge to do after we do the good deed. Saving a life is good, period. That is why we don't require firefighters, for example, to pledge to care for the people they save. The act of saving a life is good in and of itself. This act has intrinsic value. If that analogy isn't good enough for you, here's another. Let's say you're trained in CPR. You approach someone who's not breathing and you're about to administer CPR. But again, someone stops you, looks you in the eye, and makes you promise that you will continue to care for this person after you save their life. Again, you would ignore this person and go ahead and use CPR to save the life. Why? Because again, saving a life has intrinsic value that is not based upon any additional good that you promise or don't promise to do afterwards. So, this is exactly what people in the pro-life movement are doing. We are saving lives, and the value of the act of saving a life, that good deed, is in no way contingent upon any pledge or promise we make on top of that good deed. That is why you can say that it doesn't really matter what you do after the child is born. Here's another way of thinking about this that brings the point home even further. If it's true that saving a life is not good unless you plan to care for the life afterwards, then it follows logically that it's good to not save a life if you're unwilling or unable to care for the life afterwards. So logically, you can go through life never having to save anyone's life or doing any good acts, and when asked why you're unable or unwilling to do so, you can simply say, well, I'm not able to provide long-term care, so I refuse to help people. Would we see this as a good thing? Of course not. Why? Because again, we all have an innate understanding that the very act of saving a life is a good thing. How does this apply to the abortion situation? When pro-choice people make this accusation, what they're really saying is this: if a baby survives the womb, if she is not aborted, then I will help her have a quality of life, but I won't do anything to ensure that she doesn't get aborted. How do I know this is true? Because this sad reality is demonstrated daily by how the pro-choice movement spends all of its resources and influence removing obstacles to abortion, but they spend considerably less time, talent, and treasure removing obstacles to life for women who are in difficult pregnancies but want to carry to term. The pro-choice movement is generally silent in those situations. If anything, the pro-choice movement seeks to stop organizations like pregnancy centers who are trying to remove obstacles to birth. And if this isn't enough, the "you only care about unborn children before they are born" accusation is problematic for another reason. Pro-choice people have the same obligation as pro-life people to care for children after they are born. It's not only pro-life people that have this obligation, pro-choice people do too. So, rather than trying to prove that you care by listing all the ways that you support children, you should ask the pro-choice person to show you how they care for children after they're born. After all, if you're pro-choice, that means that you support a woman's choice, abortion or birth, no matter what choice she makes. So, if she chooses to carry a pregnancy to term, whether you agree with her choice or not, you have just as much of an obligation to help her bring the child into the world as a pro-life person does, and to help to care for the child after birth. So, what does their unwillingness to show they care demonstrate about the pro-choice position? If we're being honest, it shows that too many pro-choice people see abortion as the only good choice. It's as if they're saying, the burden of caring for all of these unwanted children is just too much, so they're better off being aborted. Now, very few pro-choice people would admit this out loud, but it's where their logic takes them, and therefore they would sound more pro-abortion, like eugenicists, than pro-choice. Finally, I want to say a quick word about the work of pregnancy centers, which work every day to provide compassion, hope, and help to women and men facing difficult pregnancy decisions. There are about 3,500 such organizations across the country, including 1,100 plus that are affiliated with CareNet. In the last 4 years, CareNet pregnancy centers alone have provided over $250 million in free services to their communities. Pro-choice people generally oppose these organizations. So in conclusion, don't let the pro-choice movement silence you by accusing you of only caring for children while they're in the womb. First, tell them that saving lives has intrinsic value. Then ask them what they are doing to save lives and to care for them after they've been saved. Then, for good measure, tell them about all the things that you and your pro-life friends are doing to help children and families. Remind them that the Good Samaritan actually did good. For CareNet, I'm Roland Warren.
So tell us about how you came upon this video and why you wanted to share it.
Well, that video was, the gentleman speaking on that is Roland Warren, and he is the president and CEO of our CareNet National organization, again, which is the affiliate that our center is part of. And I love what he says in there on that video, because there's so many people who talk about pro-life people only caring about the baby.
Right.
Which is not true when it comes to CareNets, because we do so much more. I mean, we help them with resources and parenting classes, and we have a baby store. But even if all we did was care about the baby, that really would be enough, because we're saving a life. And just like Roland talks about in that video, if firemen go into a building, they don't evaluate how long they're going to be in this person's life. Their goal is to save a life, and that is valuable in of itself.
Right.
Doctors save lives every day and don't go on and provide housing for these individuals. You care about life because life is valuable in of itself. And so even if all we did was care about the baby and brought babies here, that would be enough in God's eyes, because that child had a choice to live.
Right.
However, the fact of the matter is that in our organization, in CareNet and other organizations like ours, it's not just about the baby. It's about the mother.
Right.
As you stated, it's about the father. It's about the family. It's about the more abundant life that Jesus talks about in John 10:10.
Yeah.
We have, our focus this year is on pro-abundant life. Not just pro-life, but pro-abundant life.
Amen.
And we have the
Amen.
resources at CareNet to walk alongside women during their pregnancy and after their pregnancy. We offer prenatal classes, we offer parenting classes. We have a baby store through which they can get accessories, diapers, clothes for their little ones. And beyond that, if they need, if they haven't gotten their GED, or their high school diploma, for example, we work with an educational specialist to help them
Great.
get that.
Yeah.
We even, Roberta at one point helped one of our young mothers get her driver's license. So we walk alongside these people. We've gone to birthday parties of 9-year-olds.
That's
9
awesome.
years later, after the
Yeah.
woman first came into us. And that's a very exciting thing.
You know, you've talked, I know, through the years, one of the most important things is the sonogram or the ultrasound.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because when a woman sees that, it changes everything.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if they can't see an actual baby or see the fetus moving, if they can see a heartbeat and they can connect the idea that this is actually alive, that helps them to connect to the realization that even if I don't feel it, I can't see anything there. If you can see that little flicker on the screen and know that there's a heartbeat there, it connects the mother to life, the life of their child. And again, they are more likely to carry to term when they have informed choices.
Right.
And one of the choices is being able to see an ultrasound and know what you're saying yes or no to. I mean, we've had individuals who have seen 12-week-old fetuses jumping around. We had one that literally waved on the camera, as on the monitor as the dad walked in. It was pretty cool. And so, and unfortunately, we've had people that saw their baby on and still chose to have the still chose to have the abortion. But you know what, Linda? She made an informed decision.
Right.
And for that, that's all we can be responsible for.
You did what you needed to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
And in our heart, our desire is that everybody chooses life for their baby, but our goal is to serve them the best that we can, and then they are able to make an informed choice.
So let's talk about how do we educate the younger generation then with regard to these type of things, because I mean kids are experimenting younger and younger.
Absolutely.
And they don't, they're being presented with things that children shouldn't have to even be thinking about at their age.
That's right. We have, the only way that we have right now of reaching the women out there, the teenagers who are pregnant, they live online, they live on their phones. So our focus this past year in 2020 was moving over to social media marketing.
Right.
We reach them on Facebook, we reach them on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, even on the Tinder, the dating app.
Yeah.
So,
important.
Yeah, I mean this is where they're living, and if we can get them in to see us, we can help.
Right.
But we've got to reach them first, and that's our biggest challenge. And it becomes even more difficult since the administration has changed. And everybody's heard about big tech and their censorship. We have to be careful of what words we actually use, or they'll censor us.
Yeah.
We found out yesterday that we are one of 3 states that are being targeted because we have a completely Democratic leadership from top to bottom. We are being targeted by the pro-choice community. They would like us to close our doors.
Of course.
And that is too. That's the adversary as well. People leave fake reviews for us on Google. People who have never come to our center. It's just diabolical.
Yeah, the whole my body, myself.
Right.
Or
shout your
I say that
abortion.
about my mask, but
My body, my choice.
my body,
Yeah,
my
right.
choice. But it's about getting into the community, and it's about being a part of the kind of the mainstream in a sense, instead of holding yourself outside. Churches have done that for too long.
Right.
Not offering something on a basis that is non-condemning. And we've got to. It's got to be with so much love, and they've got to feel that.
That's right.
Because they're being fed lies, about what's going to happen, or this is all okay, and it's being pushed in the schools now. It's being pushed everywhere they go, and so it's so important for them to know what choices they have, and obviously, usually when they do see a sonogram, and they see that and they make a determination that they want to go forward with it. But the biggest thing to me is that not only does CareNet offer the sonogram, but you are there to support them. They know, because of where this took place, that they've got a place that they can go. They've got people they can talk to. There's counseling, and if they have issues, there's help. Financial, all kinds of things that can be helped with. Well, we're going to be coming back with more with Roberta and Kathy, and we want to remind you about the prayer line, 505-345 4165. We'll be right back. Thus says the Lord, the King of Israel and his Redeemer, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Creator of the universe, our Savior, Redeemer, Protector, Provider, and Healer, is in control. We are living in a time right now when we can shout from the rooftops that everything happening in the world today is not a surprise to our God.
The Almighty holds us in the palm of His hand, and we are able to walk through this valley and find ourselves still able to praise the Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, for His righteousness. It is our choice on how we walk and what witness we are silently giving others.
Are we choosing to rejoice and walk in faith, or are we living in fear and uncertainty? If you need someone to stand with you in prayer and faith during the days ahead, our prayer partner team is here to pray with you. Our prayer line is 505-345-4165. We will connect you with a prayer partner.
We're back with Kathy Krekel and Roberta Cheek of CareNet Santa Fe and Espanola. And I know that there's some exciting news that you want to share about things that are coming up. And we've been through a year of COVID. And, how did that affect everything?
Well, for us, we did close our doors for a short time, and then we continued to meet with clients, particularly clients who are considering abortion. As we know, the rate of pregnancy increased immensely. According to our hotline, the demand for abortion right after COVID hit towards the end of March of last year in April increased by 40%. And so we answered our phone and continued to minister to these women. And we were very, very blessed. And we actually had 14 women who were considering abortion choose life for their babies
excellent.
last year. And so for us, the day-to-day things changed, and how we were open and how we minister to women, of course, with masks and taking temperatures and limiting our hours. But we continue to minister to those who were considering abortion.
Right.
Continue to love on them, give them options. And so out of the clients that we actually did get to see, 14 of them chose life. And
that's awesome.
So we were very blessed. COVID threw a wrench into everybody's life. And so there's probably no greater time in need of our services because of the increase of unintended pregnancies. Everybody stayed home and got pregnant during COVID, apparently.
And we had to adjust our whole outreach approach as well. We, in the past, we've always done a spring banquet.
Right.
Because all of our funding comes from the community.
That's right.
So we had done a spring fundraising banquet and a fall fundraising banquet. But we had to switch last year and do them both virtually, which is a whole new ball game for us. And we're still continuing on with that. This year, at least with our Spring to Abundant Life banquet, which it's not a banquet, it's going to be a virtual event. And it is going to be on April 22nd. We're asking people to register for it so that we can send them via their email a link to get onto the event, the night of the event. They can use any device, their phone to watch it, a computer, and they can be anywhere. You can tell all of your relatives in New York City to watch. And you simply would go to our website, which is CareNetFriend, singular, CareNetFriend.com. And you can register there for the event.
And the events worked well for you this past year, right?
They did. They did. It was really amazing. I think people will still be leery of going out and getting together in person, even, once we have herd immunity and so on and so forth. So we're still looking at maybe doing our fall event that way as well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
But in the meantime, you've come up with some other good ideas to let people be able to help you. I mean, they can help you on a monthly basis.
That's right.
But they can also tell us about the credit card thing.
That is our Change for Life program, Change for Life. And through it, you can go online and register, and it's very secure, very safe. You register your credit card, and a company called Roundit you can tell this company that you want all of your purchases on the credit card to be rounded up to the nearest dollar, and that change is then given to us. And so you're really helping change a life with your change.
And you've really been helping a lot, I think, right?
Yes, it's
what it sounded
it's been quite popular, and you can also find out about how to do that through our website, carenetfriend.com. It's a very simple process, and I've been doing it. We just started it back in February. I've been doing it this whole period of time, testing it out, and it works great. And and I don't have to think about it. When I get my nails done, boom, change goes to CareNet.
Yeah. So that's,
I hope people will go on our website and just do that. And you can even limit the amount that is taken out of your card each month. You can say, I only want to give $100. No,
Yes.
Or $20, of course.
right, yeah. Okay. So is there anything else that you wanted to share with our audience before we end this time?
Kathy mentioned our Spring to Abundant Life. We want people to know that it'll actually launch on April 22nd.
Okay.
So we kick it off and get it out to cyberspace. And so you can actually watch it anytime after that. So if you're not sitting at home at 6 o'clock on April 22nd, not to worry. Once it's launched, it'll be on YouTube, and you can still access the links to be able to watch it anywhere, anytime, on any device.
Right.
And so we encourage people to watch it. We have an exciting keynote speaker there. You're going to get to meet some of our staff members. I'm going to talk a little bit about life on Mars and what does that mean to life on Earth. So it's going to be exciting, and I encourage people to watch it. Send it, like Kathy said, send it to your friends all over the United States. It's going to be beautiful, and it'll be fun. And please give.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And this is a worthy organization, and we're blessed that we have a number of organizations in New Mexico.
That's right.
CareNet's got some other offices, I think, too, that are here in the state. It's important. Every community, this is a huge issue in our society today, and it's so important that people know that there are options. It's always been around. It's nothing new. But it's come out of the darkness, and it's being exposed to the light, and women no longer have to feel like they're alone and that they have no choice, because they do have a choice. And so please be sure and go onto the website, and if you can support them, do so. Every little bit helps, because you're helping the women. And they have a store where they can go in and get supplies. They're being trained in so many different areas and helped. And just to know that you're making a difference in somebody's life is a big, big thing. And again, I want to remind you about the prayer line. We have prayer counselors that are there from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday. And if you call in after hours, then please be sure and leave your phone number and your name, and somebody will get back in touch with you. The number is 505-345-4165. Whatever you're going through, You don't have to do it alone. The enemy wants to, it's divide and conquer, and it's about separating us so that he can have his way and bring total darkness and devastation into our lives. But the Father, Yeshua said, I have come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. So give us a call. And again, we just want to thank you for your support for Sun Broadcasting. Your prayers are vital, just like they are for CareNet. People need to be praying. We need prayer partners. We need people that will stand with us in prayer. That is the foundation of any ministry. And for your support financially, those of you that have done that through the years, and you can always go to our website, which is sunbroadcasting.org, and you will find a lot of information about the organization there, as well as a lot of the programs. So thank you for being with us. The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face to shine upon you, lift up his countenance upon you, and give you his everlasting shalom.
When I first found out I was pregnant, I knew that abortion was the only option that I really could handle at that time. I felt completely overwhelmed and terrified. I knew that there was no way that I could raise a child. So I really did feel like abortion was the only possible outcome in this situation. I knew that time was running out, so I did go into the clinic and made the appointment to see the doctor. Sitting outside the abortion clinic in my car, I decided to Google the pregnancy center. When I went to the pregnancy center, I had told the ladies my decision to go to the abortion clinic. They knew the situation and they knew what I was worried about. They talked me through different options of what I could possibly do. They were very welcoming and very warm. They did offer me a free ultrasound. At first, I didn't want to take it because I knew that would probably solidify a decision, but in the end, I did. When you do hear the first heartbeats of your baby, as a mom, it makes it real, it makes it true, it makes you realize that there is another life. It's not just you. That was ultimately what helped me choose to keep my daughter and to choose life. They gave me strength, they gave me hope, and ultimately my daughter is here because of them.
When you give, your gift helps little ones like me.